early good morning to you from Mission Control Houston, and welcome to our SpaceX Dragon Grapple coverage here on NASA TV. It's Friday, April 17th, 2015. Getting a look now inside of the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Right now, the Orbit 1 team monitoring the station and the Dragon cargo ship as it gets ready to enter the final phases of its approach to the International Space Station. Inside the room, they're going to be led by Gary Horlocker, the flight director, there in the middle. Just to the right of the screen is one of our newer flight directors, Amit Kshatriya, on console with Gary to get a little learning experience. And then at the cab composition in the white shirt and tie at the top there, David St. Jacques. He's going to be serving as the communication link between our team here inside the room and the astronauts up in space. There's also a team out at the Hawthorne Flight Control Room at the SpaceX Mission Control Center. They've been monitoring the vehicle since its successful launch back on Tuesday and are going to be feeding all of the relevant data to the team here in Mission Control Houston as Dragon is on its final approach towards the International Space Station, bringing with it over 2 tons of supplies and equipment for the Expedition 43 crew. And this is the grapple coverage, so SpaceX's Dragon going to be arriving, and then a couple of the crew members on board standing by to reach out and grapple with the craft using the space station's robotic arm, Canadarm2. Prime this morning will be European astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti, and then backing her up will be Expedition 43 Commander Terry Virts, a NASA astronaut. And then astronaut Scott Kelly is also going to be inside the cupola helping to monitor the Dragon as it makes its final approach. Again, Cristoforetti is going to be the prime for operating that robotic arm this morning from the robotic workstation in the cupola. Once Dragon arrives at its capture point, as we'll play you a quick animation here, it's going to arrive at that capture point, which is about 10 meters away, 32, 33 feet or so. And then at that point, Cristoforetti will be able to reach out with that robotic arm and grab hold. Once that's completed, the teams down here in Mission Control will take over, maneuver Dragon into its proper attitude, and then attach it to the Earth-facing side of the Harmony module, and then bring Dragon to its home for the next couple of weeks. And Dragon already inside of 1,000 meters to the International Space Station, as both vehicles right now flying just over Central Asia, right in the middle of an orbital daytime. Expedition 43 Commander Terry Virts already radioing down to the ground that Dragon is in visible range right around 3:40 a.m. Central Time today. He reported seeing the vehicle to the teams down here in Mission Control. And so as of right now, Dragon on the R-bar, that imaginary line directly lining up its final capture point and the surface of the Earth between the International Space Station. A couple of the milestones coming up, and here getting a look down the barrel of the space station's Canadarm2 robotic arm that's going to be reaching out and grappling with Dragon. It's going to be approaching a number of stop points over the next couple of minutes and an hour or so before that targeted capture time of 6 a.m. Central this morning. Once it arrives at 250 meters, it's going to get a go-no-go from the teams here in Mission Control over to the teams in Hawthorne, at which point it's going to cross into what's known as the keep-out sphere. It's essentially a 200-meter area around the station where once it's inside there, the approach is very carefully monitored, all to minimize any potential risk of collision, just making sure all the Dragon's approach systems and communications are in good working order. Once it arrives at a point just about 30 meters away, or 100 feet or so, it's going to get one more final go-no-go until it arrives at the capture point, which is just 10 meters away, a little over 32 feet or so. At that point, Samantha Cristoforetti will be able to reach out with that robotic arm, Canada Arm 2. It's about a 57, 58 foot long robotic arm that she's going to be controlling from the space station's cupola, the large 360-degree window on the Earth-facing side of the station. She's going to be able to reach out, grapple with that Dragon vehicle, and at that point it'll be captured. Following that, again, she'll hand over control of the arm to the teams down here in Mission Control. The robotics officers will take over to maneuver Dragon and orient it to be docked to the Earth-facing side of Harmony, enable it, and then it'll get bolted in place for its stay over the next 4 to 5 weeks or so, scheduled to undock on May 21st, once the crew is able to get all of the experiments, equipment, and other things off. A number of experiments making the way up are also going to be making the way back down, so that driving a bit of the timeline as well. And there's quite a bit of research packed into this Dragon spacecraft, a little over 1,860 pounds dedicated solely to new research investigations. Some of the highlights to go over. A number of things to support the ongoing one-year crew mission. Again, all of this is going to be in the pressurized section of the Dragon spacecraft, as the unpressurized trunk is empty on this mission. But a number of different studies making their way up. A new cell and gene expression research program making the way up, hoping to highlight the relationship between microgravity and cell shapes, which could actually influence our future ability to counteract microgravity-induced changes pharmacologically, basically using medicine and other drugs. A number of equipment items for the one-year crew mission making the way up. Some of the hardware going to be supporting the study known as fluid shifts. That really important actually in tracking some of the vision changes that we see in astronauts over their time on the International Space Station. Still not fully understood, but one of the prime suspects for the cause, fluid shifting from the lower body to the upper body, basically an influx of fluid in the head, potentially increasing cranial pressure, and then leading to a couple decreased vision capacity for these astronauts. Also, one of the cool research studies on board actually going to be testing out synthetic muscles, which could one day be used on robotic explorers of the future. Robots, hopefully, like Robonaut on board, or even the Canada Arm 2, able to perform tasks too repetitive or difficult or even dangerous for human explorers. And robots with a synthetic muscle would have a little bit more human-like capabilities, something that is useful when you don't have to then design, systems, spacecrafts, things like that, specifically for the robots. The robots can just use the same things as human spacecrafts. So this new synthetic muscle developed, which can actually contract and expand like real muscle. It's going to be tested for radiation resistance, as there is that slightly increased radiation environment in space, not only on the International Space Station, but especially in deep space. And again, this is a view from right on the tip of that robotic arm, Canada Arm 2, that's going to be used to grapple with Dragon. And you can see the spacecraft just in the top of your view coming in now. One of the, should be hearing one of the upcoming milestones. It'll be at about a 250 meter or so range in the next 10 or so minutes. That's when we'll get go no go to then enter the keep out sphere, that 200 meter area around the International Space Station, designated, but again Dragon on its final approach, making its way. The grapple scheduled at about 6 a.m. Central Time this morning.
Yes, Terry, sorry. We're trying to get a view of the ghost cam. We think we have a good signal, however we get a black image. I don't know if you guys can check on your side if there's something obscuring it or lens cap, or just check the ghost cam.
Yeah, it's definitely not blocked, and it's powered on.
Okay, copy that. We'll think about it some more.
Hey, David, how about now? I just unpowered it, reconnected the connectors, and powered it on again. Or powered it on first, and then plugged in the connectors.
All right, thanks, Terry. Now we could see that you switch it on and off, but it's still black on our side, so we'll keep looking into why it might be.
The Dragon spacecraft getting closer and closer into view now. Again, looking down the robotic arm. Samantha, Cristoforetti, and Terry Virts inside the station's cupola, standing by at the robotic workstation. Cristoforetti going to be primed for reaching out with this Canadarm2 and grappling with the vehicle. You can see a quick breakdown here of that robotics workstation. Again, it's inside the cupola, the large 360-degree bay window on the Earth-facing side of the International Space Station on the Tranquility module. It's actually going to give a perfect view for these astronauts as Dragon makes its final approach. The workstation there, giving them control of the 57-foot-long arm, and it's going to be ultimately birthed to the common birthing mechanism on Node 2, also known as Harmony, just on the Earth-facing side. So Cristoforetti and Virts are going to be conversing with the ground, waiting until Dragon arrives at that final capture point just about 10 meters away before Cristoforetti will get the go to reach out with that arm, grapple Dragon, and get it ready for the teams down here in Mission Control Houston to start maneuvering it in for its final docking port. So again, that capture should be coming in right around 6 a.m. Central Time today.
So, Terry, sorry, we'd like you to... Hey, we got it.
Our next hold should be coming up pretty shortly. Actually, we're in the 350-meter hold at this moment.
Twice, and the third time was a charm, so who knows?
Very good.
Thankfully, it works. How's the field of view, David?
The field of view is good, but we get some glare from sunset, I suppose.
Okay, but the angle and stuff is good. Samantha's going to be like right there. And I'll be over here.
Yeah, that's good. Both of you fit in perfectly, yeah.
So again, at this moment, the Dragon spacecraft holding at 350 meters. Just a little under 1 hour and 45 minutes away from its targeted capture time. Getting some video now from inside the station's cupola. You can see Expedition 43 Commander Terry Virts there, using a camera to take a few shots of the Dragon spacecraft. The glare of sunset filling the cupola with quite a bit of light right now, but that'll fade as we can see here. And you can also see set up in the cupola the station's red camera. It's a high-def camera capable of shooting an over 6K resolution, so hopefully some pretty spectacular video coming out of this in the next couple of days of Dragon's final approach. So again, a look inside the cupola as Dragon continues to hold at 350 meters. Expedition 43 Commander Terry Virts there at the robotics workstation, snapping a couple of photos of the uncrewed spacecraft. And now we see ESA astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti, who's going to be prime for these robotic arm operations. Just about an hour and 40 minutes from now, that capture should occur. And sun just setting for the International Space Station as it enters an orbital nighttime, currently over the northern Pacific. And again, that capture targeted to come just about an hour and 40 minutes from now at 6 a.m. Central. And the visiting vehicle officer here in Houston monitoring the vehicle for the flight control team reporting. The Dragon has departed that 350-meter hold point on its way towards 250 meters. At that point, they're going to get a go, no-go to enter the keep-out sphere, a 200-meter area around the International Space Station, after which it's going to be monitored very closely. The Dragon spacecraft communicating with the ground and with the station itself through communications. The crew using the crew command panel on board the International Space Station. They're going to be able to interact and monitor Dragon directly as it approaches. And right now inside the cupola, both Samantha, Cristoforetti, and Terry Virts at the robotic workstation monitoring Dragon's final approach. Again, getting up towards that 250-meter point right now. So Dragon should hit that 250-meter point just under 5 minutes from now. So targeting right around 4:27 a.m. Central Time for that next hold. At that point, they'll get another go, no go to depart and enter the keep out sphere, that 200-meter imaginary circle around the International Space Station. There you see ESA astronaut Samantha, Cristoforetti, again prime for the robotic operations today. And so we are in an orbital nighttime right now. You can see Dragon continuing to approach, heading towards that 250-meter hold point.
You still on 2 for overlays?
Right on 2.
Yeah, David, can you remind us exactly when the overlays show up at what ranges?
Checking. All right, so what we expect, Terry, is that they should show up as gray at 250 and turn green by 200.
Gray at 250, green at 200, thanks.
And so just under a minute, 20 seconds from that scheduled hold at 250 meters. Dragon will camp out there for a couple of minutes while the teams do another check of all the spacecraft systems, make sure it's communicating well with the range finding on the International Space Station, giving all good readings before giving it the go to head into that keep out sphere. Again, Samantha, Cristoforetti, and Terry Virts here inside the Cupola, monitoring the spacecraft on its final approach. Cristoforetti there, prime for the robotic operations today. You can see Dragon again in an orbital nighttime right now. We should be getting a sunrise in about 30 minutes or so. And so getting the confirmation, SpaceX has arrived at that 250 meter hold point.
See Dragon at 250 meter holding. Please confirm that per step 2 and 1.102. And a heads up, we expect to stay there about 10 minutes.
Okay, we're showing 250 meters also, and we're doing step 2 now, David.
And as you just heard on Capcom, David St. Jacques report to the crew, asking them to confirm that they're also seeing Dragon at that 250 meter hold point. They're going to stay here for about 10 minutes or so before the crew and the teams down here on the ground are able to give the vehicle the go to begin resuming that final approach, entering into that keep out sphere. But for the next 10 minutes or so, holding at this point. Just a little over an hour and a half away now from that targeted capture point of 6 a.m. Central Time. Terry Virts and Samantha Cristoforetti still here inside the Cupola, monitoring the system from the robotic workstation. Cristoforetti is going to be primed for using the 57 and change foot long Canada Arm 2 robotic arm to reach out and grapple with the cargo ship.
Spec range is 263.
Copy, good LED, 251 and 263.
Okay, and for Block Bravo on camera 9, the lighting is dark. The vehicle size right now we can't tell because it's, like I said, it's dark. The light is right underneath the circle, and the circle is in the center of the quarter.
Okay, copy for CP9er.
Houston, one more thing to report for Block Bravo. The camera 3 is offset. The vehicle position is offset with respect to where the circle and computer think it is, and that was per the briefing. I think that's expected.
And how big is the offset?
Again, it's forward and port, and the vehicle size is hard to tell because it's dark, but compared to the green line vehicle size, it's about 3 vehicle widths to the port and 1 vehicle length aft, or forward rather.
All right, 3 width port and 1 length aft, with the caveat that you can't actually see the ship. You're using the outline.
Yeah, that was using the green line outline, and that was to the port.
Makes sense. And Terry, that's pretty good, pretty close to our predictions. Thanks.
Copy.
So we're about 4 minutes, 30 seconds into this hold at the 250-meter point. Dragon just camping out while the teams conduct, again, a thorough check of all the range finding and communication systems on board the vehicle. In just about 5 minutes or so, they should get the go to depart this point, head towards that 200-meter keep-out sphere. The next stopping point will be at a range of about 30 meters, a little over 100 feet away from the space station. When they'll get that final go, no-go to enter the capture point, they'll depart that 30-meter point, head to the capture point, which is only about 10 meters away. At that moment, Dragon will park out and will be stopped at that capture position. And then the crew will be given the go to reach out with the space station's robotic arm to grapple with the vehicle and attach that. Again, Cristoforetti going to be primed for operating the arm. Expedition 43 Commander Terry Virts in the Cupola with her right now. He's going to be standing by to back her up and also help monitor the Dragon systems. Again, we should be getting a sunrise in about 20 minutes or so, which should provide some pretty good views of Dragon as it closes in on that capture point and the International Space Station. And so right now here in Mission Control, the Flight Director Gary Horlocker polling the team for a final go, no-go to depart this 250-meter point. Each of the different subsystem flight controllers going to make sure that they're part of the station ready to support this final approach. And then they'll give the Flight Director a go, and then we'll be ready to initiate the vehicle's departure from this into the keep-out sphere and towards that next hold point at 30 meters. So about an hour, 25 minutes away from that scheduled capture time. Dragon still right in the center of the screen. We're in a nighttime, but you can see the LiDAR, one of the rangefinders, flashing on the vehicle as it just camps out there again at 250 meters away from the space station. It's been there for just about 8 minutes or so. Should just be another minute or two before the spacecraft gets the go to continue its approach. the Expedition 43 crew continuing to stand by inside. They've been doing some robotics training on board the vehicle over the last 2 weeks as they prepared for this. Commander Terry Virts there also installing a number of items on the station yesterday to get ready for this, installing the centerline berthing camera actually in the earth-facing side of Harmony, also known as Node 2, doing a checkout of that yesterday. Again, it should be attached to the station today, but the crew likely won't be opening the hatches until Saturday morning, at which point they'll begin offloading a lot of the cargo, a lot of the science that has a pretty strict timeline on board, as some of the experiments making their way up on Dragon also going to be making their way back down. So the crew will be very busy over the next couple of weeks as they look to get all the science completed and packed back inside of Dragon before its departure on May 21st.
Station on 2 for rendezvous.
Go ahead, David.
All right, Sam. So SpaceX and Houston are ready for a Dragon approach inside the keep out sphere. Your go to command and monitor approach from 250 meters per step 3 and 1.102.
Okay, we'll go for step 3.
You heard it, the teams here in Houston and SpaceX Mission Control out in Hawthorne giving the crew the go, the vehicle ready to depart that 250-meter hold point where it's been for the last 11 minutes or so. So any moment now, Dragon will be departing that hold point and heading towards its next milestone of crossing into the keep out sphere, which is about a 200-meter imaginary circle around the station, used to basically a staging point, at which point anything crosses that 200-meter point, very carefully monitored as it makes that final approach on the station. The next hold point going to be coming at 30 meters when it's just about 100 feet or so away, at which point it'll park out for a couple of minutes again, and then they'll get one final go, no-go from the teams before it heads towards that capture point.
Houston, the resume command was sent successfully, and for Block Bravo, on camera 9, there's no change, and on camera 3, the vehicle is moving a little bit closer to the center, and so I'll call it 1 vehicle width forward and 2 to the port.
All right, no change on CP9er, and on CP3, 1 width forward and 2 length port.
Good readback.
So the crew successfully giving the command to the Dragon spacecraft using their command panel to depart that 250-meter point. The spacecraft communicating with the station using the Cuckoo device, one of our favorite acronyms, standing for the COTS Ultra High Frequency Communication Unit. Virts and Cristoforetti still here inside the cupola, monitoring and sending commands to the unmanned cargo craft as it departs that 250-meter point, heading into the keep-out sphere around the International Space Station. Its next hold point going to be right at about 30 meters away. And that'll be the final hold point before Dragon's allowed to move into its capture position, just about 10 meters from the station, at which point Cristoforetti will have the go to reach out with the station's robotic arm, Canadarm2, grapple with the vehicle, and then the crew's job for the day as far as grappling the vehicle will be completed. So Dragon approaching from that 250-meter hold point, just about an hour, just under an hour and 1 hour and 17 minutes away from the targeted capture time of 6 a.m. Central. The Dragon spacecraft packed with a little over 4,300 pounds of equipment and supplies, going to be supporting dozens of experiments for the crew on board the station. And at this point, Dragon making its way very methodically, very slowly, should be arriving at that 30-meter hold point in just about 29 minutes or so. So we'll be in a orbital daytime, should be getting some better views of the vehicle, as it'll only be about 100 feet away from the space station. Again, sunrise should be coming in about 10 minutes or so, and that'll shed some light on the cargo ship as it makes this final approach. For now, Samantha, Cristoforetti, and Terry Virts still standing by, monitoring and controlling the vehicle from the station's cupola window. Poking his head in there, NASA astronaut Scott Kelly, one of the two one-year crew members on board, who's been working as a backup to help monitor Dragon systems during this approach. Kelly going to have a pretty big role in unloading and loading a lot of the cargo on board the spacecraft. Also going to be the prime for releasing the vehicle once it departs, currently scheduled for May 21st. And handing over our video communications with the International Space Station should pop back in just a minute or so.
Station on 2 for rendezvous.
Go ahead, David.
All right, so Dragon is inside the 200-meter keep-out sphere. Just a reminder that you now have authority to issue an abort if you're NOCOM with MCC Houston and the light goes outside the corridor.
Okay, copy that.
So you're hearing Capcom David St. Jacques calling out Dragon now inside that keep-out sphere. The crew enabled to issue abort commands should anything go out of spec with the vehicle during its final approach.
Continues to move towards the center line. It's probably one vehicle width and length forward in port now.
Okay, copy. No change, Niner, and then 3 improvement. Now 1 width and forward and 1 length port.
Good readback.
Samantha Cristoforetti on the left there, Terry Virts on the right, getting eyes on Dragon as it continues its approach, just about an hour and 11 minutes away from that scheduled grapple time. Cristoforetti going to be prime at the controls of the space station's robotic arm, Canada Arm 2. Should be a little over 20 minutes away from that arrival at the 30-meter hold point. Going to be the final hold point before it arrives at that capture point. Basically the point at which Dragon will no longer be approaching. It'll be about 10 meters away, and the crew will be able to reach out with the arm and grapple with the unmanned cargo vehicle. So Dragon continuing that approach. Should just, again, be about 20 minutes or so until it reaches that 30-meter hold point, at which point the teams down here on the ground, both in Houston and Hawthorne, the SpaceX Mission Control will do another check out of the vehicle systems, make sure everything looks A-OK before they give the crew the go to send the command to the vehicle to make its final approach into the capture point. The vehicle and its 4,300 pounds of cargo just about an hour and 6 minutes away from the targeted capture time. Again, following that capture, the crew is going to hand off control of the robotic arm to the teams down here in Houston, where the robotics flight controllers will be able to control the arm and maneuver the vehicle over the course of a few hours into its docking attitude before it's attached to the Earth-facing side of the Harmony module, where it's going to reside for about 5 weeks or so. And getting the first glimpses of sunrise there in the cupola. The station right now, 260 some odd miles just over Argentina. There you can see Dragon also getting the first rays of light as the sun begins to peek over the horizon, illuminating the vehicle as it approaches that 30-meter hold point. You can see the thrusters occasionally firing as the vehicle automatically fine-tunes its way up the R-bar, that imaginary line between the Earth's surface and its final capture point. Visiting vehicle officer here in Houston confirming Dragon has crossed the 100-meter spot. So again, closing in on that 30-meter hold point. Cristoforetti and Virts here inside the cupola, fully illuminated now as that sunrise sheds some light on the Dragon as it makes this final approach. Spacecraft's thrusters automatically firing to keep it online. This is a great view from right down the space station's robotic arm, Canadarm2, that Cristoforetti is going to be controlling to reach out and grapple with the cargo craft. In just about an hour or so, the capture should come. But everything looking great with the vehicle and the approach. And the Earth's surface now lighting up in the background. The space station just passed over the southern tip of Argentina, now back out over the southern Atlantic Ocean, just about to cross the Terminator line, the line that runs across the Earth's surface between night and day. Great view of Dragon as it is inside 100 meters now, approaching that 30-meter hold point. Should be just about 14 minutes or so until it arrives at 30 meters, at which point it's going to hold again. And then teams down here on the ground, both in Houston and out at Hawthorne, will do one more check of the vehicle before giving the go for the crew to send the command to have it continue on to its final stopping point at just about 10 meters away. Commander Terry Virts taking the opportunity to snap a couple of shots of Dragon as it continues this approach. Getting some great shots now of the vehicle as it approaches that 30-meter hold point. the team out at Hawthorne and SpaceX Mission Control monitoring the vehicle as they have been since it launched successfully from Cape Canaveral back on Tuesday. That's just about 2.5 days ago. Dragon, though, on its final approach towards the International Space Station, should just be about 8 minutes or so away from that 30-meter hold point where it'll camp out for a little bit before teams give the crew the go, and Dragon's able to head towards the capture point of just about 10 meters away. So continuing to close in, everything still on track for the capture, scheduled just about 55 minutes from now at 6 a.m. Central Time this morning. So a short gap here in our video comm with the International Space Station should reacquire pretty quickly. Grapple still on schedule for 6 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Eastern. And should be just under 5 minutes away now from that scheduled hold at the 30-meter point. Vehicles should camp out there for several minutes while the team's down here on the ground go through a final checkout before they are able to give the crew and the vehicle the go to leave the capture point and head towards leave that 30-meter hold point and head towards the capture point.
Houston on 2, you ready for a Block Bravo report?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Camera 9 is no change other than it's daylight now. And camera 3 has continued to get better. The vehicle's moving towards the center. I'll call it half of a length forward and a half of a width port.
All right, half forward and half port on 3 and no change on 9er, except you can see it.
Good readback.
And so as you can see, the Dragon spacecraft closing in on the space station, should be arriving at that 30-meter point, just about 100 feet away or so, any minute now. It's going to park out for a couple of minutes while the teams down here review the spacecraft systems, do a final checkout, then give it the go to head towards that capture point. Then Samantha, Cristoforetti, and Terry Virts inside the Cupola here will be able to reach out and grapple with it. Cristoforetti is going to be primed for controlling the 57-foot-long Canadarm2 to grapple with the vehicle. So getting the confirmation from the visiting vehicle officer, we are at the 30-meter hold point.
For rendezvous.
Go ahead, David.
All right, Terry, we see Dragon holding at 30 meters. Please confirm that per step 4 and decimal 102. And as a heads up, as you get into your preparation, we must be complete by 10:45 if we want to get the first capture window.
Okay, you mean complete with step 3 by 10:45?
So I meant by step 4. Yeah. Yeah, step 3 in the robotics procedure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And right, got it. Okay, and the pry range is 29.67, secondary is 30.30. We can leave the light on, and we will go run step 3 in the robotics procedure.
Very good. 29.67, 30.30, and we're standing by for your readiness.
So again, Dragon at that 30-meter hold point now is both it and the station just crossed over the coast of Namibia, about to cross over the African continent. You can see it passing beneath the Dragon spacecraft, currently 30 meters away from the International Space Station. It's going to hold here for a couple of minutes while the teams down here on the ground and the crew inside the Cupola, Terry Virts and Samantha Cristoforetti, run through all their final checks. Again, the grapple scheduled to come a little under 45 minutes from now at 6 a.m. Central Time. It's scheduled to depart this 100-foot or 30-meter hold point in just a couple of minutes or so. Should be arriving at that capture point within the next 20 or 30 minutes. That capture point just 10 meters away from the station where Dragon will finally park out, and then the crew will be given the go to use the space station's robotic arm, Canadarm2, to reach out and grapple with the cargo craft. But again, right now, Dragon holding at 30 meters, arriving there just a couple of minutes ago, about 4 minutes or so. And Gary Horlocker here, Mission Control Houston, polling the team for a go-no-go to depart this 30-meter point. Each of the Orbit 1 team members are going to review their position, make sure that they're ready to support from a station perspective to depart this final hold point before Dragon arrives at the capture position. You can see the vehicle very close now, just 30 meters away from the space station. It's going to close into a range of just 10 meters before it's going to stop approaching, and then Samantha Cristoforetti is going to reach out with that robotic arm and grapple with the vehicle. She and Terry Virts still standing by in the station's cupola, getting a great view of the vehicle during this final approach, and for all the robotic operations coming up just a couple of minutes from now. Everything's still on schedule for that targeted grapple time of 6 a.m. Central this morning. Over 4,300 pounds of equipment and supplies, just 30 meters away now from the International Space Station, and resupplying the Expedition 43 crew. Again, dozens of experiments going to be supported by the hardware being brought up by the Dragon spacecraft. Among them, several experiments from the for the one-year crew expedition, directly preparing us to support astronauts for longer and longer periods of time, with eyes, of course, set on sending men and women in the not-too-distant future to Mars. And this a look from the business end of the Canadarm2, which is going to be reaching out and grappling with the fixture on the Dragon spacecraft. And we will be losing video comm with the station for about 15 minutes or so. Right now, Dragon still at that 30-meter hold point. The team's doing their final pulls here in Mission Control Houston and also out at Hawthorne, the SpaceX Mission Control Center, as they continue to monitor the vehicle as they have since it launched a little over 2.5 days ago from Cape Canaveral in Florida on the Falcon 9 rocket. And once the teams here are ready, they'll give the go, and the vehicle will depart that 30-meter hold point, head in towards the capture point, only 10 meters away from the space station. And then it'll be the crew's time to jump into action, and Samantha Cristoforetti will be using that robotic arm to reach out and grapple with the cargo craft. For now, continuing to stand by and hold at 30 meters.
Houston for rendezvous. The crew is ready for Dragon approach to capture point.
Copy that. We'll be with you shortly. Station on 2 for rendezvous.
Go ahead.
All right, Terry and Sam. So Dragon is ready to proceed to the capture point. You can expect approach to resume shortly.
Okay, thanks.
So while we are out of video comm, here's a quick overlay of the path Dragon has taken on this final approach day towards the International Space Station. A number of height adjustment burns done to finally raise the spacecraft's altitude up towards this final capture point. The integrated ops coming at 2.5 kilometers. The keep out sphere you can see drawn around the station, that 200-meter area around the vehicle that the Dragon spacecraft entered at right about 4:46 a.m. Central Time this morning, just a little over 30 minutes ago. Right now, though, Dragon at that 30-meter hold should be leaving momentarily.
Station on 2 for rendezvous.
Go ahead.
All right, as you've probably noticed, Dragon has begun approach from 30 meters. Please monitor per step 5 and 1.102.
Okay, copy that, and we see it moving in closer.
Roger.
And so getting the confirmation, Dragon now departing that 30-meter point on its final approach towards the International Space Station. It's going to be stopping one last time at just about 10 meters, which is the capture point. At that moment in time, the crew will be able to reach out with the station's robotic arm once they get a go from the teams down here in Mission Control Houston. Everything marching towards, again, that scheduled capture time just about 33 minutes from now at 6 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Eastern. Should be arriving at that capture point in about 16 minutes or so, at which point we'll have reacquired video communication with the International Space Station. And this just a quick animation again of what we're going to be looking for. The robotic arm will be reaching out, grappling with the vehicle before the control of the robotic arm gets handed off to the teams down here in Houston, who are ultimately going to rotate the arm, maneuver the vehicle, and attach it to that Earth-facing side of Harmony.
Vehicle size matches the outline, and it's not offset. Like I said, the circle is right in the center of the quarter.
Okay, that's good news. Thanks.
And for camera 3, it's the same.
Copy that.
Expedition 43 Commander Terry Virts reporting everything looking right on the line with Dragon's final approach. So again, should be getting video back from station cameras in about 9 or 10 minutes or so when we lock back up signal with the tracking data and relay satellites. But right now, Dragon approaching the final capture point. It'll be just 10 meters away from the station when it parks and holds, and will be ready for grapple. Should be there in about 10 minutes or so. So again, we should be reacquiring video and be able to see the spacecraft right as it arrives at that capture point. Dragon scheduled to be grappled at 6 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Eastern. That may change slightly depending on how the crew works the timeline, but everything continuing to march forward towards that target. Dragon on its final approach. So everything continuing to go well with Dragon's approach, just about 10 minutes or so away from that capture point arrival. The teams here in Mission Control Houston monitoring the vehicle on its final approach in conjunction with the teams out at the SpaceX Mission Control in Hawthorne, who have been controlling the vehicle since its successful liftoff back on Tuesday from Cape Canaveral. The Falcon 9 rocket performing flawlessly to put Dragon into its initial orbit. The last 2 days spent gradually catching up to the International Space Station and raising the orbit through a series of burns, setting us up for this morning's activities. The Dragon spacecraft closing in on that capture point of just 10 meters away from the space station. 4,300 pounds of cargo and supplies just a couple hours away now from being delivered to the International Space Station. A whole bunch of supplies, new experiments for the Expedition 43 crew. So again, just about 9 minutes or so from that capture point arrival. Once it is at that 10-meter point, Dragon will finally park out, and ESA astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti will be able to control the station's robotic arm, Canadarm2, to reach out and grapple with the vehicle. She's being backed up by Expedition 43 Commander Terry Virts. We've seen the two of them in the space station's cupola at the robotic workstation a number of times throughout our broadcast today. They are sending commands actively to the Dragon spacecraft using their crew command panel, and they're going to be using that robotics workstation to control the Canadarm2 to reach out and grapple with the vehicle. Everything on track for that grapple, scheduled to come just a little under 25 minutes from now at 6 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Eastern. And reacquiring video with the space station. Here inside the cupola, you can see NASA astronaut Scott Kelly getting some images of the vehicle as it is now very close, just a couple of minutes away from that capture point of just 10 meters away from the space station. And you can see just how close it is, lining up perfectly with the space station's robotic arm poised there, just the bottom of your screen. And getting some great views of the vehicle from a number of external cameras on the station as it's slowly approaching. Again, that capture point should be there in just a minute or two, at which point it's going to park for the final time, and then the crew will be given the go to reach out with the Canadarm2, which you can see there in view. The Dragon spacecraft lining up with it. Samantha, Cristoforetti inside the cupola going to be prime for this robotic operation coming up in just a couple of minutes or so. Everything on track for that grapple time, targeted at right at about 6 a.m. Central Time this morning. And this is a view from that robotic arm. You can see the grapple fixture on the Dragon spacecraft clearly in view there right in the center. And we'll stand by for the next minute or so for confirmation that the vehicle has arrived at that capture point just 10 meters away from the space station.
Station on 2 for rendezvous.
Go ahead, David.
Right, Terry, so we see Dragon at the CP hold. Can you please confirm that per step 6 and 1.102?
Okay, step 6 is in work. We'll give you a report here shortly.
And so the team radioing up, they are seeing Dragon at that capture point, so just 10 meters away now. Terry Virts and Samantha Cristoforetti going to confirm before Cristoforetti takes the wheel and is able to maneuver that robotic arm out to grapple with the vehicle.
Houston, the capture conditions are confirmed and we're ready for Dragon capture. Ready for step 4.
Copy that. Stand by for capture. And just for your essay, we expect that to take us about 5 or 6 minutes. So stand by.
So the crew confirming they also see the Dragon vehicle at the capture point just 10 meters away now from the International Space Station. Teams here now doing one final go, no go for capture, at which point they'll give the crew the thumbs up, and Samantha Cristoforetti will be able to stretch the Canadarm2 out just a couple of meters to capture the vehicle. You can see the Earth darkening in the background as both the Dragon and the International Space Station entering an orbital nighttime. So it's actually going to be nighttime when they're able to grapple with the vehicle. Both spacecraft right now just crossing over the very northern part of China. Going to cross in and out of China and Russia before they head out just over the very northern tip of the Sea of Japan, and then cross out over the Pacific Ocean. You can see SpaceX very close now, just about 10 meters away from the space station. And then in just a couple of moments after the teams down here confirm they are good to go, the crew will get the all ready and the go-ahead to begin their robotic arm operations, and ESA astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti will reach out, grapple with the vehicle, and then it'll be just a few hours until Dragon is attached and docked to the International Space Station.
Station on 2 for rendezvous.
Go ahead.
All right. So you are go for capture sequence. Perform step 4 in 1.110 Dragon approach monitoring and capture, and begin monitoring the backaway cue card.
Okay, copy that. Step 4 is in work, and we'll keep an eye on the backaway cue card.
So the crew go for capture. They're going to start working through their procedures. Again, Cristoforetti, the prime, at the controls for Canadarm2, being backed up by Commander Terry Virts. So that capture should be occurring in the next 10 minutes or so. Cristoforetti going to be driving the robotic arm towards the SpaceX Dragon vehicle. The Dragon still poised there at the capture point, just 10 meters away from the space station. Cristoforetti should be reaching out with the Canadarm2 any moment now. And you can see the arm now in motion, going to start closing the gap. And Canadarm2 closing in on the grapple fixture on the SpaceX Dragon vehicle, under 5 meters away at this point. ESA astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti at the controls. Under 4 meters. Under 3 meters. Under 2 meters. Cristoforetti continuing to close in on capture with Dragon. One meter. Standing by. And we have capture, nominal capture confirmed, coming at 5:55 a.m. Central Time, 6:55 a.m. Eastern, while the station and Dragon fly over the northern Pacific Ocean, just to the east of Japan. So again, capture confirmed. The 6th Dragon resupply spacecraft captured by the crew of Expedition 43, Samantha Cristoforetti at the controls. The Dragon and its 4,300 pounds of cargo now in the hands of the International Space Station. And a high five there for the successful crew members inside the cupola.
Houston, capture is complete. We are go for post-capture reconfiguration. Samantha did a perfect job grappling Dragon.
Copy and concur. Great job, guys. Congratulations.
Hey, David, is this a good time to take a minute and say a few words?
Certainly, Sam. Go ahead.
Hey, just wanted to say thank you to the folks at SpaceX and you guys in Houston. It's been just amazing, watching the launch, and knowing that it was headed our way, and sure enough, it came knocking at our door, and it was steady as a rock, and we're just very, very happy to have it here. It's exciting to have a new SpaceX dock time frame mission coming out. It's going to be busy, but lots of science, and even coffee is in there, so that's pretty exciting. So again, thanks a lot, and great job to everybody.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Terry. There's a bunch of very grateful people on the ground to see this go as smoothly as it's happened today. Nice job.
Yeah, good job to everybody. And pass on to Robo, the lighting conditions were very good with the external lights. Basically, it was not a problem at all. Very good lighting.
And RoboCopy's good lesson learned. Thanks. That's great.
And some quick congratulatory words from the crew. The team out in Hawthorne at the SpaceX Mission Control Center, very happy. The Dragon now captured by the International Space Station. Samantha Cristoforetti was prime at the controls. Capture coming at 5:55 a.m. Central Time, 6:55 a.m. Eastern, while both vehicles were flying just over the northern Pacific to the east of Japan. 4,300 pounds of cargo just a few hours away now from being attached to the International Space Station. As control is now going to pass to the robotics officer here in Mission Control Houston, who's going to take over control for the Canadarm2, maneuver it and the vehicle into the docking attitude before the Dragon is able to be attached to the International Space Station. That'll take a couple of hours, but then the crew will be able to open the hatches tomorrow morning, most likely, after all of today's activities. But again, a flawless final approach, capture confirmed at 5:55 a.m. Central Time today. So just to recap real quick before we wrap up our grapple coverage today, that successful grapple with the Canadarm2 coming at 5:55 a.m. Central Time this morning, 6:55 a.m. Eastern. Dragon captured while the station was flying over the northern Pacific to the east of Japan. ESA astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti using the controls inside the station's cupola to capture Dragon after a flawless final approach today. Again, control now handed over to the teams here in Houston, who are going to be maneuvering the arm and the vehicle for its docking. That's going to take a couple of hours, so we're going to break away coverage for a little while. We'll resume, though, a little bit later this morning for our berthing coverage at 8:15 a.m. Central Time, 9:15 a.m. Eastern. Berthing currently targeted to begin at about 8:40 a.m. Central Time at 9:40 a.m. Eastern. However, the team sometimes working a little ahead of schedule, so we may come on the air for berthing earlier than that, so make sure you're keeping an eye peeled, but that the current targeted time, again, 8:40 a.m. Central Time, we should see that berthing begin. For now, though, we'll go ahead and sign off for now. We'll be back in just a couple of hours. But again, successful grapple. Dragon arrived at the International Space Station. For now, though, we'll sign off. This is Mission Control Houston.